Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Well, Randy, first of all, this is about the most expensive primary, political party primary that I've seen in my life. The most expensive.
Really?
I mean, conservative estimates, based on facts, indicate that Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia or his team must have spent over 100 million Ghana cedis on these elections.
Where's the baby? Where do you get this?
You want to go into the details?
Come on there.
Okay. All of us saw delegates complaining on television, live television, that they have been given 400 cedis each. You told us that you had 208,000 delegates. If you multiply that by 400, how much do you get? That alone gives you 83.2 million. That's just the 400 cedis distributed on that day. Do you want me to continue the calculations? So clearly, Vice President Bawumia alone must have spent a minimum of 100 million Ghana cedis on this election. It has never happened in the history of this country. I mean, Nana Akufo-Addo, how much did he spend? I mean, his last contest with President Kufuor, why? The day of the Congress, he didn't even have money to pay TNT.
You mean Sunyani?
Yes, Sunyani. He didn't even have money to pay TNT and so on. But now we are witnessing...
But that was also a smaller group.
Agreed. But even for the smaller group, we were struggling to have money to pay TNT. Okay.
That was then.
Yeah, that was then. That's why I'm saying that this is the most expensive political
There's no
party
doubt about that. There's no doubt
that I've seen in my life.
There's no doubt about that.
And that the Vice President, and I'm being very moderate in the calculations, very moderate calculations would indicate that he spent, or his team spent, at least 100 million Ghana cedis on this election. That's interesting. Now from here, I also like to look at their own expectations.
Right.
I mean, at one stage, people supporting the Vice President said he was going to get 95% of votes.
95.
95%. Then they started reviewing it downwards. Then it came to 90. And eventually 80. The last time, those who thought that were being very, very realistic and charitable put it at 70%. The results clearly indicate that that expectation could not be met. He had 61-point-something%. Okay. Now the indications were also given that he was a northern candidate and that he was going to sweep the north. If you look at the results, he didn't sweep the north. Indeed, no, he didn't.
Apart from Zebila, Binduri, he swept the entire north.
Garu, he lost some of the constituencies.
But when you look at sorry,
Massa, just hold on. He lost some of the constituencies in the north. It wasn't a sweep. Indeed, I looked at one of the constituency results and I was almost shocked. I mean, Kennedy Japan was making 500 and something votes and he was making 200 and something votes. A northern constituency. So that magic one that it was claimed he had in the north, I didn't see it. You know, Kennedy Japan gave him quite a tough time in the north. And then there is something else, you know, about the votes and so on. In the end, Kennedy, Akumpreku, Japan, all together got about 37% of the votes, 37-point-something% of the votes. That was clearly remarkable. Because yesterday, I was listening to my old friend, Nana Akumia, who was key in the Bawumia campaign. And he actually confessed that they were not expecting him to get more than 20% of the votes. So if he exceeded the expectations and got 37%, that is remarkable. It's quite remarkable and so on. Of course, all of this also brings to mind the posters and so on. And I'm not going to go into details. We also what the posters said. And Randy, as you said, right now it does appear that the only credible poster we have for elections and so on is Global Info Analytics. It's getting it right all the time. And even where it misses, the misses are marginal and so on. So I think it's important to pay attention to Global Info Analytics and the kinds of things that they are bringing out as a result of their research, findings. Now, after the elections, after the primaries, all kinds of people are trying to play all kinds of statistical games. And I heard Dr. Bawumia himself say that he had 61%, and that is unprecedented in the history of the NPP.
For a first time.
For a first time, unprecedented. But then he forgot the other things that he could look at. Okay. And I think it was my friend Franklin Kudo of Imani who has brought out the other side. Franklin has also made it quite clear, doing an analysis of the statistics, that nobody has become president of Ghana, won presidential elections, with 61% of total votes at the primaries. Nobody. I mean, the statistics indicate that nobody.
With less than a figure.
Yes, nobody.
I think 64, 65.
So if you're playing these statistical games, we have to look at all the sides of the statistical game and so on. Then, Randy, there's the aftermath of the elections. What has happened after the elections? Of course, all of us saw Adai Nimo, Afri Yakuto, and Akumpreku pledged their support to the party and also to the candidate at their class stadium. We all saw it. But after that, have you been following what is happening?
No.
The key spokesman of Kennedy and Japan has made a statement, and he made it on radio. I listened to his interview. Hold on. He claims that it took national security operatives to go and drag Kennedy and Japan from the house to the stadium.
Okay, he clarified it. He clarified it by saying that they escorted him up the days.
No, not the days, from the house. They went to the house.
I heard that one.
Yes.
He said that before. And then he was asked, is he saying that they came to the house and forced him to the stadium? He said no. But they escorted him up the days.
He didn't quite say that in that way. I mean, he added that they escorted him up the days, but he was quite hedgy. He didn't want to go into details and so on. Now, he has also said that, look, as for them, they are still members of the New Patriotic Party. They want the New Patriotic Party to win the elections and so on. But those who are asking Kennedy and Japan to join the campaign trail must not forget that they said that he didn't know how to speak. He couldn't convince people and so on. So if after the elections, if after saying all of those things, they are now urging him to join the campaign, how is he going to speak to the people when he doesn't know how to speak? And he actually said that it is now time for Kennedy Japan to go to school, to go and learn how to speak. And said that it will take him 1 year to learn how to speak. And that after he had learned how to speak, he would join the campaign.
I heard that.
You heard that?
Yes.
That and what happened on the stage are totally different. You understand? And then they asked him whether what he was saying represented the views of Kennedy Japan. He was hedgy. But then he made the point that the night before, he had been with Kennedy Japan discussing the election results and its implications and so on. Very interesting. Then he said something else which was very significant. He said, look, Kennedy Japan has held many members of parliament to win their seats, giving them logistics and so on. And that all those people turned their backs on him, okay? And that now they are going to go for primaries again, and we shall see. We shall see. I mean, that's a huge statement, very huge statement. So clearly, from what this spokesperson is saying, it doesn't look like everything is. But beyond him, is also this gentleman, Dr. Amwakutufo. I don't know if you've heard what he has also said.
Amwakuba.
Amwakuba, Dr. Amwakuba. Randy, thank you very much. Dr. Amwakuba, who has also granted an interview and actually said that what happened was not an election. It was an auction. And he's made the point that it was against the rules of the competition and also infringe on the laws of this country, and has actually threatened that he's going to go to court to get the results of the elections annulled.
You should find something else to do.
Well, you can say that, you understand. But for me, what is important is that this is a guy who played a very key role in the two elections which were won by the New Patriotic Party. Nobody can dispute the role that he played, explaining policy, defending the NPP and so on. And clearly, this is where we are. He's actually contemplating going to court, to set the results aside, because he thinks that there were no elections, but there were auctions. What happened were auctions and so on. Then there's another gentleman, Randy, very important gentleman. Indeed, he was the campaign manager of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in one of the elections. And I'm talking about Dr. Atta Kwabena Kennedy.
2016.
2016.
He was the communication director.
Okay, fine. Communication director. But he was key in that campaign. He was key in that campaign. And actually, he himself, at one stage, also became a presidential aspirant and so on. And he has also commented on the elections, Now, clearly, he is even opposed to the candidature, appears to be opposed to the candidature of Dr. Bawumia. And what he's saying simply is that with Dr. Bawumia as the candidate, things will be very, very easy for the National Democratic Congress. And he says that, look, all the National Democratic Congress has to do is to collect the videos of Dr. Bawumia's campaign in the previous elections and play them. And that will be sufficient to discredit him and for the NDC to win the elections, Now, there are so many others in the party who are making comments and so on, and we can analyze all of them. But I like to, leave it at this stage.
Right. Okay.
But there is somebody who also stood up very, very strongly for Dr. Bawumia. And in fact, he makes the point that he endorsed Dr. Bawumia as a vice presidential candidate of the party. He has always supported Dr. Bawumia and actually refers to Dr. Bawumia's wife as my own Samira. Shows how close they are. I'm talking about Kofi Bento. And Kofi Bento still continues, that is vice president of Imani. He still continues to support Bawumia. But Kofi Bento then makes the point that the Bawumia candidature can be problematic. And he says that his biggest handicap is going to be the performance of the administration in which he served as vice president. This is somebody who supports him. It's not an opponent. It's somebody who is supporting him, who is saying that he has a huge baggage, and that baggage, stems from the performance of the administration in which he served. Now, interestingly, Dr. Bawumia himself is enthusiastically distancing himself from the administration in which he served. And that for me is interesting. Of course, he had made many statements before. There is his famous statement that in this administration, he was just a driver's mate. He wasn't the driver, implying that he was not responsible for the major decisions which were taken, and therefore also implying that if there have been failures, they may not be his failures, and so on. Then, of course, you remember his claim that in this administration he was just the assistant headmaster, and so on. Now, on the day that the results were declared, he also made the point that he will be his own man. Again distancing himself from the administration in which he served. That's interesting, because that clearly is an admission that things have not gone perhaps the way he expected, or that he's keenly aware that the performance of this administration can become a problem for him, going forward, and so on.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal le Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.